Hello, I am Dan Ribacoff, the former polygraph operator for the Steve Wilkos show. I want to tell you about how Steve Wilkos fired me because he could no longer sweep my racism, encouragement of rape, exoneration of baby killers, and condemnation of innocent people via our fake lie detector machine under the rug, as well as our bullying of an innocent mother of four named Anca Pennington to a near-fatal attempted suicide.
Mr. Ribacoff, to my understanding, you have a track record of behaving unprofessionally in business matters, which has resulted in you texting racist hate jokes about African Americans to one of your work colleagues in your investigative company in New York. Nepotism and discrimination against a black man named Jonathan Carter who was applying to be an officer for New York Transit Police, declaring a guilty woman named Candy Meinhardt and a guilty man named Jesse Perkins innocent of killing toddlers for which they are now being incarcerated, pronouncing an innocent woman named Anca Pennington guilty of abusing her daughter, as well as finding another innocent mother guilty of killing her daughter LaToya Brown. You also reportedly aided and abetted in an alleged rape inflicted on a woman named Susanne Goldsmith by your fellow detectives at your company, including a suspect named Yanti Green. And even though your name no longer appears on the team page at the Steve Wilkos website because Steve apparently fired you, it appears that polygraphs are still being performed behind the scenes on Steve's show.
Steve and I have been known to pull scams against naive and ill-informed guests, clients and fans who are stupid enough to believe that we genuinely care about them and their situations and who think that polygraphs are credible. This is why Steve never released a public statement announcing that he fired me. We have to protect our finances and our brand. You see, the DNA tests the show was performing during the COVID season was nice, but once we began losing ratings because the show was getting too boring like Maury's, the show needed polygraphs to boost the drama factor and become more exciting like Jerry's, but, as always, on a more classed-up hero persona level. So, the show started providing lie detector tests again so that Steve and I can continue to look like the good guys and the guests that get falsely accused can look like the bad guys, thereby getting our views back up off the charts and making us all look like superstars.
But if you were terminated from the show, who then is the new polygrapher?
That is none of your business. The show hired a new polygraph examiner, a competent one, and that is all you need to know.
But from what has been rumored, your daughter Lisa Ribacoff is the show's new polygrapher, and even though the show never officially confirmed this, it wouldn't surprise me if this were the case, because you and Lisa have shown patterns of cronyism in employing others at your investigative agency, of which by the way Lisa is included as a suspect in the incentivization of rape against Susanne Gold. You apparently hire people based on race and emotional bias and not on whether the individual is actually qualified. And certainly not on whether or not said individual is a rapist.
Okay. So our website says polygraphs are at least 98% credible, but you did not read the website conditions. Also, each word description is subjected to change at any time, same with length. If I say I am going to tell you I am going to give you a credible lie detector test, it is not literal or a reality, and once we trick you into signing our disclaimer, we can then change it to your story is now ours and we can now tamper with it to enhance the entertainment value for our own selfish benefit. Once we deceive you into signing the contract while you are under stress and pressure only moments before you meet Steve on stage, you entered a scam. Now you don't get what we originally promised you because we have flipped the switch with no notice. And if you don't do everything Steve tells you to do, we could threaten to leave you stranded in our studio at Stamford, Connecticut if need be. Because we changed the terms on our website for our advantage, it will leave you feeling like Steve never fired me, so you can't expose us for our dirty deeds because. Therefore, if you are innocent of a crime but our bogus polygraph says you are guilty, you can't get mad at us if you get stalked, given death threats, or even physically beaten up because. We are no longer liable for what happens to you after you leave our stage. You are after all the sucker who was stupid enough to trust us in the first place.
But don't you think you should compensate Anca for her stay in the hospital due to her suicide attempt? She has $50,000 in medical expenses and she and her children need counseling for the trauma you and Steve inflicted on them.
We gave Anca $500 to take a new polygraph and to make her shut up about all this, and if she has been waiting more than 2 years for us to pay her $50,000 in hospital bills and to issue a public apology for our almost killing her, she is out of warranty by law.
How do you and Steve get away with bullying innocent people into near suicide, Dan?
Well, as you reported some months ago, You exposed Steve's executive producer and butt-ugly wife Rachelle Wilkos for performing witchcraft against Steve's mistress out of jealousy for her. So if you know Rachelle is capable of performing black magic on someone Steve cheats on her with, why would you not think it possible that Rachelle would be capable of performing witchcraft on her fellow producers, her fans, and even on Steve himself? You have noticed that Steve is afraid of his own wife and that our audience cheers us always on cue as if they are hypnotized.
Well, yes, there is no telling what that evil and selfish woman Rachelle Wilkos is capable of doing to keep her so-called celebrity status up to par. She does hide her ugly face a lot after all, but while listening to you I see you are gaslighting me. I read all the facts about how you and Steve continued to bully the beautiful Anca even after her suicide attempt, and then your lawyer blackmailed her by threatening to release her episode to humiliate her if she refused to remove her videos exposing you and Steve. I read all the facts about how you then deleted the short preview of her video on YouTube to threaten her with before you cowardly removed it because you and Steve know it would incriminate you, but we secured a copy and we still use it to continue to expose you. And you continue to browbeat Anca with more childish mockery such as stealing her YouTube title, Steve Wilkos Survivors, so you could showcase guests who supposedly survived horrible experiences and who Steve supposedly helped so you could recover your hero image and try to make the abuse you gave Anca appear insignificant by comparison. I have become very familiar with how you and Steve scam people with fraud techniques.
Allow me to get my story straight and see if I can get more suckers to believe my cockamamie excuses. We changed the layout and terms of the Steve Wilkos website to make you look stupid and as if you are lying about our con artist misadventures. This is why after Anca proved that we knew all along that her daughter had ringworm instead of cigarette burns, we said let us see if we can find another sucker guest. These guests who are showing up on Steve's stage talking about how they survived being sent to prison despite being innocent and how they performed heroic deeds, or how Steve supposedly changed their life for the better when he worked as a Chicago police officer, are just suckers we scammed and exploited so we could use their stories to eclipse the evils we inflicted on our victims and so we could continue to look good.
So you call yourself an expert in deception? I would not trust being a guest on your show. Tell me about your other hacks to trick your fans and your guests into believing you and Steve are the real deal.
That depends on who I can trick into believing we are philanthropists who are out for the benefit of humankind. We can make out our wrongdoings did not happen. Our fans would believe us over these people because we make you smear campaign radicals look stupid. And I can highlight my good guy image over the real facts if need be. Using my expertise in psychology, I manipulate the vulnerable, disabled and mentally ill. We especially love taking advantage of minorities. And when you anti-Steve liberals call me out on my crap, I play word games and say I said this and meant that as if people are stupid. We target the disadvantaged with false advertising and convince these saps that they need what we are offering, and then after we lure them into our trap, I bring them into my polygraph suite where I then make my move and bamboozle my hapless subjects with my bullshit lie detector test results.
What do you mean by sweet, Dan? From what Anca has stated, your office is no bigger than the average bathroom.
Well, let's not get technical about what a polygraph office should look like. Or a sweatshop for that matter.
From what I heard, your polygraph accused a man named Stephen Williams into committing suicide for real. According to his sister, he hung himself in his jail cell after your lie detector proved this gentleman guilty of molesting his own children. And it looks like neither you or Steve ever apologized to the family of this poor man either. In fact, from what Mr. Williams' sister reports, comments she has posted on Steve's official Facebook page about her brother's story were immediately deleted. And it looks like the show removed Stephen's episode as well.
That's because we are cowards who can't afford to let little doozies like this get out there when we are in deep shit as it is. With my racist track record, do not take a risk in trusting my polygraphs. So if you watched this to the end, be careful about taking a polygraph on our show because we will only screw you and your whole life over and potentially drive one of your loved ones to suicide. And, take it Dolly,
be careful about con artists like Scam Ribacoff. Just because Dan was formally removed from the Steve Wilkos show, Steve and Dan are still friends and Dan's evil presence is still lurking.